The Nile's headwaters create Africa's biggest lake. At Lake Victoria, the river begins its legendary journey. Leaving the lake, the Nile bursts into life and transforms into the mighty river of legends. Young and wild, the Victoria Nile rushes into foaming rapids, plunging downward into pools below. From Uganda's Murchison Falls National Park, the river embarks on an adventurous journey through one of the last untamed African landscapes. The river enters South Sudan and spreads into Africa's largest swamp, the Sud. Over 1 million antelopes hide in the watery channels of this vast marshland. From its source in East Africa to the deserts of Sudan, the Nile runs through immense stretches of diverse terrain. Once past the waterfalls, the Nile flows serenely through Uganda's largest national park. Hippos stand guard over the river's course. Like the Nile itself, these animals are slow, tenacious, and unpredictable. Watching them doze peacefully in the water, it's hard to believe they are among Africa's most dangerous creatures. Only 150 years ago, the banks of the Nile remained unspoiled, stretching from Lake Victoria to Egypt's distant deserts. Since the dawn of time, the Nile crocodile has been the river's enduring symbol. The ancient Egyptians even worshipped it as a deity. Today, the national park is home to some of the largest crocodiles in Africa, many growing to lengths of 5 meters or more. More than 400 bird species breed and hunt along the Victoria Nile. African skimmers migrate within the continent, stopping here to rest and feed. A flock of skimmers hunts fish using their unusual beaks, where the lower half is considerably longer than the upper, to scoop small fish from the water like a spoon. Hidden among tall papyrus plants is one of Africa's rarest birds, the shoebill. Closely related to European storks, these elusive giants inhabit only a few marshlands. Startled, they take flight, revealing their prehistoric presence. From the water rises another giant, an elephant bull retreating from the scorching sun. Up to his neck in the cooling river, he feasts on lush foliage. During the dry season, animals struggle to find water in the surrounding grasslands, but the inexhaustible Nile keeps them alive. Each afternoon, the bull swims to a small island to feed on swamp grasses, carefully washing off the mud before taking a bite. Under the blazing sun, time seems to stand still, as if the explorers searching for the river's source had only just navigated upstream. In 1862, the British explorer John Hanning Speke finally discovered the source of the Nile near the town of Jinja. The famous rapids leaving Lake Victoria, once fierce and untamed, have long since been dammed to generate electricity. From the western shore of Lake Victoria, the river travels north through Lake Kyoga and meanders toward Murchison Falls National Park. From Lake Victoria, the Nile descends in a series of steps. Even seasoned local kayakers consider its treacherous rocks and rapids a true test of courage. Nowhere else is the Nile as merciless and intimidating. Kilometers before it reaches Murchison Falls National Park, the river gathers speed. On its flatbed, the Nile transforms into a raging torrent. A rocky island divides the flow, and the river squeezes into narrow passages, forcing 300 cubic meters of water per second through a 6-meter channel. These passages create two waterfalls, the Uhuru and the Murchison Falls. The Nile then plunges 40 meters down, with rocks hurling the water back high into the air. The Murchison Falls provide a thunderous and spectacular display. Around the falls, a tropical garden thrives, nourished by the constant spray. Though not Africa's largest waterfalls, they are undoubtedly among the most beautiful. The shrill call of the African fish eagle embodies the wilderness. Perched like a king above the continent's great rivers, this eagle has long been a symbol of freedom. Depicted on the Zambian flag, Malawian coins, and the national coat of arms of both Namibia and South Sudan, it hunts fish with unmatched grace. To the north of the Nile stretches a hilly savanna, home to the rare Ugandan kob antelope. During the dry season, large herds of cobs and elephants remain close to the river. Shy animals, such as the bushbuck, only descend to the water in the early morning. Bushbucks are solitary by nature, often hiding in dense thickets. 20 years ago, wildlife here was scarce. Most large animals were slaughtered during the Civil War of the 1980s. But now, the tide has turned. Biologist Tutilo Mutumba studies the recovery of animal populations. His team has fitted radio collars to several lions. With the help of his assistant Sophie, he tracks their signals. Tutilo works for the WCS, the American-based Wildlife Conservation Society. He monitors how prides hunt and defend their territories. Recently, the team tracked a large male lion less than 20 meters away. In total, they follow 4 prides that live near the Nile. They estimate that about 130 lions inhabit Murchison Falls National Park, Uganda's last lion stronghold. The biologists spend nearly 8 hours a day observing from their vehicle. One female lion, for instance, is feasting on a Uganda cob from the previous night's hunt. Since antelopes migrate, their movements influence the lion's behavior throughout the year. Such meals are rare. Lions, however, remain tied to their territories. When antelope are scarce, they turn to smaller prey like warthogs. In the dry season, the Nile's sandbanks come alive. The river's vast fish supply attracts hundreds of thousands of birds. As the water level drops, many species begin to breed. At this time, female crocodiles grow especially aggressive, shuttling between the cool river and sandy banks where they guard their buried eggs. They share these nesting grounds with an unusual neighbor, the water thick-knee bird. It breeds right among the giant reptiles. Oddly enough, thick-knees and crocodiles form a kind of alliance, united against a common enemy, the Nile monitor lizard. Growing up to 2 meters long, this lizard is a notorious egg thief. When crocodiles retreat to the water to cool down, the monitor emerges from hiding. At once, a vigilant thick-knee sounds the alarm and even attacks. Its sharp calls alert the crocodiles to the intruder. The crocodiles, in turn, should protect the thicket and its nest, at least in theory. But the Nile monitor smells the eggs and begins digging. Crocodiles have sharp eyesight and an excellent sense of hearing. Despite the warning signs and the obvious threat, the female crocodile remains calm. The monitor uses its forked tongue to scan the sand. It can detect even the faintest odor particles and locate eggs buried deep in the ground. Finally, the crocodile has had enough. The Nile monitor waits for another opportunity, but it hasn't accounted for the thick-knee bird. Even powerful allies are not always dependable. The female crocodile trudges straight toward the nest while the thick-knee desperately tries to prevent disaster. The crocodile halts just millimeters away from the eggs. The thick-knee seems stunned, and then the inevitable happens. All the warnings were in vain. One egg breaks. In the end, the smaller partner is still the weaker one. The thick-knee quickly disposes of the broken eggshells and feeds on the remains. Otherwise, the smell would attract predators. At least one egg is unharmed, which is reason enough for the bird to resume incubating immediately. Despite the drama, the thick-knee remains loyal to the breeding ground, seemingly convinced that living among crocodiles offers the safest chance of survival. The oppressive afternoon heat covers the savanna like liquid glass. All color fades. Not a single leaf dares to stir. Only giraffes wander across the Nile's lands, moving as if in a trance. At sunset, brighter colors return, accompanied by a cool breeze. As the golden hour begins, a 3-legged lion roams near Murchison Falls. The year before, it had been caught in a poacher's trap. Fortunately, rescuers managed to save it, though the vets were forced to amputate one leg. After treatment and antibiotics, the lion was reintegrated into a pride, much to the researchers' surprise. They had expected him to be rejected. Tutilo switches on a red light. Since lions hardly see that part of the spectrum, it does not irritate them. One of the lions has brought down an antelope. As usual, the dominant male feeds first. A female approaches carefully, waiting until the male has had his fill. On average, a dominant male leads a pride for about 2 years before being ousted. In Murchison Falls National Park, however, this rule rarely holds. Many lions share the 3-legged lion's fate, caught in the deadly wires of poachers. It is a long night for the young biologists. After the lions, they must monitor other nocturnal hunters. A pack of hyenas has made its home on the Nile. Using a clever ruse, the researchers attempt to lure and count them. They play a recording of a buffalo calf, a sound that is, just irresistible to hyenas. Hyenas are intelligent and wary creatures. For half an hour, nothing happens in the pitch-black night, though the researchers sense the predators are near. Suddenly, they appear, torn between fear and hunger, searching for the lost calf. The hyena population in the park is small, and researchers want to understand why. They lack the time and funding to study social or hunting behavior in detail, but at least they can track population numbers. As the first rays of light emerge, the nocturnal hunters fade back into the shadows. Now the Nile's banks spring to life. Birds such as pied kingfishers take their posts above the water. On sandstone cliffs, colonies of bee-eaters begin their busy day. This striking species, the red-throated bee-eater, lives in colonies of several hundred. Their favorite perch is a lone branch which serves as both lookout and meeting place. They wait all day for prey, catching bees and insects mid-flight and bringing them back to their nesting holes. During breeding season, the branches are crowded with activity. Both males and females hunt, taking insects straight to their young. Under the critical eyes of their peers, each bee-eater must complete its task with precision and elegance. Further west, the river widens, forming the boundary of Murchison Falls National Park. At first glance, the banks beyond the park appear to be inhabited only by animals, but humans share the river as well. For centuries, water birds have coexisted with fishermen and farmers. The Nile serves as a laundry, a gathering spot, and a lifeline for countless villages. Today, millions of people live along its banks, often with dramatic consequences for the natural habitat. Water hyacinths, originally from Brazil, were introduced in the early 20th century as ornamental plants. Now they dominate vast stretches of the river. Known by their Latin name, Eichhornia crassipes, they have no natural enemies in Africa. This invasive plant has overrun bays, tributaries, and canals from Lake Victoria all the way to the Nile Delta in Egypt. In Uganda, hippos must constantly push through carpets of hyacinths to move through the water. Meanwhile, human settlements continue to expand around the park, heightening conflict. The park's borders remain virtually unguarded. A ban on fishing is in place, yet boats are everywhere. At night, poachers cross the river and invade the park. The traps are meant for antelopes, but the wires do not discriminate. One trapped lion suffocated while struggling to secure his freedom. Rangers have destroyed dozens of traps during the day. They understand the poachers. There is no employment and no support. For many, fishing or hunting is the only way to secure food. A tooth is pulled from the lion. It will help in analyzing the animal's state of health before his death. The wires are a deadly snare. The harder the animals pull, the tighter the grip becomes. Steel wire is strong and unbreakable, even for elephants. A young bull tries to cool his wound. Dozens of elephants are trapped each year, suffering severe injuries. In some cases, a vet has to amputate a trunk. One giant managed to escape by himself, but his leg remained locked. Elephants in Murchison Falls National Park continue to fall victim to poachers and ivory hunters, yet their population is steadily increasing. In the early 1990s, only 300 elephants remained in the park. Today, their numbers exceed 1,000. During the war, soldiers devastated the park's buildings and infrastructure. Now, tourists are back. Wildlife protection is not only worthwhile but also profitable. To the west of the park, where Lake Albert joins the Victoria Nile, a vast delta unfolds, covered with papyrus plants. It offers a glimpse of the boundless wilderness the Nile will soon cross on its journey north. Once past these rapids, the river reaches Africa's youngest country, South Sudan. This nation, too, has been scarred by decades of civil war. Gaining independence in 2011 did not bring lasting peace. Beyond the rapids, the Nile changes character. It divides into sidearms and transforms into the impenetrable Sud, Africa's largest swamp. Fed by rainfall, the Sud can expand to 100,000 square kilometers. It is a labyrinth of lakes, water meadows, and endless papyrus fields. Only one channel is navigable, leading north out of the maze. The heart of the Sud remains underwater even in the dry season. The ground is treacherous, with nothing but wind, swaying reeds, and floating grass. This swamp is the domain of birds. There are no tourists, no cities, and no roads, making it the perfect wildlife sanctuary. All tropical Nile bird species reside here, hiding, breeding, and hunting within the forest of reeds. The Goliath heron, the largest bird of the Sud, can grow up to 1.5 meters tall. Yet the swamp's true treasure is another. The shoebill, a feathered giant, is rare, shy, and elusive. It is a cousin of the pelican, yet it hunts like a heron, waiting patiently in a standing position. Lungfish are among its preferred prey. Several thousand shoebills live in the Sud. Far more than anywhere else in Africa, they hunt in the reeds but build their nests on the sandy banks of the alluvial land. Their young must be fully fledged before the heavy rains arrive, or they risk being swept away by the floods. Of the 2 or 3 chicks, only one usually survives. This one has made it, but its first flight is still several weeks away. The nests are widely spread and surrounded by water. Even the boldest poachers rarely venture this far. A parent guards its young. The fledgling has just learned to fly, making it ready for the rainy season. When it comes to food, the shoebill faces competition. Along the edge of the Sud are small fishing villages inhabited by the Dinka people, who have lived in the alluvial lands of the Nile for centuries. The Sud is rich in fish, and with the simplest of tools, these fishermen can catch up to 30 kilograms a day: catfish, tilapia, perch, and many other species. What their families don't eat is dried, sold to nearby communities, or bartered in camp. In the wilderness of the Nile, money has little value. Each year, the Nile floods not only the swamp, but also thousands of square kilometers of grassland. During the dry season, some of the world's largest herds of cattle graze here. For the Dinka, cattle breeding is their central purpose, the heart of their life and culture. In December, after the rainy season, their families move into the wetlands, pitch camp, and remain until the Nile once again floods the pastures. The smoldering fires seen in the distance come from their camps, fueled by kitchens and burning cow dung. These fires keep away flies and insects drawn to the cattle. The Dinka are South Sudan's largest ethnic group. The nation's president and many ministers are Dinka, but the nomads themselves do not think in terms of politics or borders. For them, cows are everything. Cattle are companions, a source of milk, and more. Nothing is wasted, not even their urine, which is used for washing and medicinal purposes. At night, the herds are kept within the camp. In the morning, young herdsmen guide them back to the pastures. A herd may number 500 cows or even more. As the tributaries and pools dry out, the people turn to spearfishing. Hundreds of thousands of fish are caught this way, ensuring survival in the ever-changing rhythm of the Nile. Writhing in knee-deep swamp caught between land and water, the people fish with spears. Spearfishing only lasts for a few days, and it becomes a communal celebration. Africa's greatest opportunists, the marabou storks, follow them, just waiting for an easy meal. Some fish, they hope, will be dropped or left behind. The Dinka families catch, prepare, and eat the fish together. The children eventually return to camp, but their days in the Sud are numbered. The rainy season is near, and this entire place will be flooded within weeks. Even deeper within the Nile's swamps, in areas underwater all year round, fishermen have built some of the most isolated huts in the world. Their floating homes stand 80 kilometers away from the mainland. Only the fishermen know how to reach them and return safely. Near the huts, a family of giants has left tracks in the reeds. A large herd of elephants lives in the Sud, but they remain elusive. Only a few people have ever seen them. Around 400 animals move between the shallow sandy islands and the vast expanses of papyrus and reeds. This herd has survived thanks to their isolation. As long as they remain hidden among the papyrus, they stay out of the poacher's reach. It is in these wetlands that the Nile hides its best-kept secrets. The tracks tell a story, evidence of one of the largest migrations in the world. The animals move southeast towards Africa's largest untouched savanna. When the rains arrive, all of this will be covered in lush greenery. For some, like this antelope, it's already too late. The Mongala gazelles are among the first herds to leave the Sud and move towards fresh pastures as the rainy season begins. The first rains have already fallen, and now the gigantic herds arrive. The Tiang antelope push through the wilderness with the largest herds numbering over 20,000. Thanks to WCS biologists, we now know of this extraordinary migration. After spending thousands of hours in the air, they discovered that the antelopes had, in fact, survived the war. Luck is needed to witness the most spectacular antelope of the Nile, the white-eared cob. The dark brown males lead, while females and calves run alongside them. More than 700,000 cob take part in the migration, a breathtaking sight captured here for the first time. Biologists estimate that over 1 million animals join this migration, a spectacle comparable to the famous wildebeest migration in the Serengeti. During the war, many species were wiped out or driven away, yet it seems that through migration the antelope managed to escape the slaughter. In Bandingalo National Park, all the antelope gather together. The reserve and surrounding savanna stretch across some 40,000 square kilometers of untouched grassland, a rarity even in Africa. The Great Migration is triggered by the rains in the Nile. In the wet season, the river floods the Sud's vast plains. Once the waters retreat and fresh grass sprouts, the antelope return. Nomads and their cattle follow the same rhythm of nature. In the evening, massive plumes of smoke rise from the wetlands. They drift from the camps of the Dinka nomads, covering the settlement like a mystical veil. Soon the men and women will dismantle their homes and move to higher pastures. When the heavy rains arrive, the Nile will erase every trace of the Dinka camp. 1,000 kilometers upriver lies a different world. Khartoum, a vibrant metropolis and the capital of Sudan. Here, the Blue Nile merges with the White Nile, the main river. The Nile's mightiest tributary ends in the heart of civilization, though its origins lie far away in a rugged wilderness of rocks and rapids. These lonely, jagged mountains form the Ethiopian highlands. Here, the waters that feed the Blue Nile gather, beginning the river's adventurous descent towards the Sudanese plains. Thanks for watching to the end.